So June, the Global Heart Vision, freedom from discord. We believe that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impulse of our thought and acts upon it. As within, so without. As I give, so shall I receive. What comes around, goes around. How else can we say it? What other expressions are there to describe the connection that cause equals effect? As above, so below. As within, so without. Birds of a feather. Surely we have many celebratory examples where we demonstrate embodying this principle. But today we go deeper and explore the unconscious habits that might limit us, the ones that can create discord in our life. Your creative mind might be creating blocks that you don't even know about. This is why we have to be aware and monitor our thoughts, because you can use this power in any way, for positive or for negative, as was demonstrated earlier. It's often easy to see the principle of cause and effect in the world outside of us or happening to other people, and it seems more difficult to apply this to ourselves when we are in challenge. Sometimes we can't see the forest through the trees, and we need others to assist us, to draw us back and show us what the truth can be for us. It seems more difficult to apply this principle to ourselves when we are in the midst of challenge. This is because it does not just happen at a conscious level, but also at an unconscious level. But fear not. Facing discord heals and transforms you into the power that you have always been, because it is through our challenges that we grow. Now, I'm not going to affirm that we need to be in challenge to grow. When I was hit by my 2x4 in my life that knocked me into next week, as it were, metaphysically, when I began this trip into myself to remember who I was, I used to think that it needed to be a 2x4 that hit me upside the head, and that was the only way I could learn. And affirming that created many 2x4s in my life. But I learned that you can as easily learn from love, joy, peace, and harmony when looked for in your life. Your creative mind can do anything. Anything. You can think anything you choose. You can go to the electrical socket in the wall and you can put your finger into it. Shockingly, only for a moment. But it only takes a moment to misinterpret the power, to misuse the greatest power known, which is part of electricity, or electricity is part of. We can also use that power to plug in the vacuum cleaner and clean the sanctuary. But it's up to us. The electricity doesn't say, oh, wait, don't get your finger close here. It doesn't do that for us. It's us that make that determination if we're going to be shocked or not. And shockingly, sometimes we find out the hard way. Sometimes we get jolted into our next plane of existence by misinterpreting something. Let's just know that before we start playing with electricity that we have read up, we have educated ourselves on how a power works before we start playing with it. And these are not powers you play with. You don't play with love. You don't play with life and death situations. You educate yourself and you find out what is the result, what is the effect. As my dad would always tell me, you can have all the freedom you want to, as long as you can take responsibility for your actions. Being able to respond ably and know exactly what that means. That means you take full responsibility and you own your challenges if you create them. And that can change your life. So you are this creative mind in action. Another reading from the textbook says, this is page 225.3, back of nearly every discord or disorder, there is some subjective complex or mental knot that needs to be untied, not a slip knot. Generally, some suppressed emotion which perhaps is created around affections, the likes and dislikes, the loves and passions, and everything which goes with them. These knots must be untied. And it is the business of the practitioner to untie them. Reminding you that a practitioner, we are all practitioners. We are all practicing the awareness of the presence of the infinite in our life all the time, if you know it or not, if you have a license or not. Some of us have decided to go through the rigors of licensing ourselves with the state of California to be a licensed practitioner in this philosophy. And it's not an easy thing to do. But the rewards are so rich. To take on your life in a way that says, I will be in control of my thoughts. And I will pray in a way that affects other lives for the positive. Knots. Sometimes if we can look at something as a knot that's tied too tight. You ever had one of those? You ever had a shoelace that had a really tough knot in it? What do you do? What do you do? Get the scissors out and cut it out. You get your teeth down there. Put it in water, soak it in water, maybe that will help. But if there's a way that a knot got tied, there's a way to untie it. No matter how boggling it looks, there's a way to untie it, to Rubik's Cube it out. This is another reading from the Science of Mind textbook on 246.4. We should read, study, think, and meditate upon those statements which tend to calm, to give poise and confidence, and erase all thought of fear and tension. Subjective law can only operate upon that which it is given. What are we giving our subjective field? So we must be careful of our pattern of thought. We must live in a sea of perfect life, and we should take time to understand and sense this in our imagination. Take the time to stop Be still and know. When we're presented with a challenge, we want to fix the challenge, and we get busy immediately attempting to fix something. When what we need to do is align ourselves first with the infinite. Take a moment and realign, as Abraham says, Abraham Hicks. For if we respond out of the challenge being presented to us, we carry that same energy into the attempt to resolve. But when we take a step back and introduce the power that created us into the situation and allow its genius to come forward, that is the creative mind. It is not our individual self that figures it out. It's the individual allowing the infinite, the all that is, to flow as who and what we're doing, that can work any knot out. We should think of ourselves as being surrounded by perfect life and poised in eternal calm. We are in a sea of untroubled waters of life, from which we may freely drink. We must do the drinking, but we must do the drinking. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink unless you duct tape a hose to its mouth. And even then, it doesn't have to swallow. No one else can do this for us. We should hold out the cup of acceptance until it is filled and overflowing with the manifestations of our desire. This chalice of the heart is held up, that the heavenly flow may fill it with God's abundant life. Again, that's page 246.4. Your creative mind has the freedom to choose. No matter who locks you up, no matter what may happen, you have the power of your thought to choose, to decide, to reason, and to think. No one can ever take that from you. In the calm peace of your own mind, you decide. So choose freedom. It's your birthright and already inherent within you. We are born with that. But you must decide. You must make a decision. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Rush 21:12. If you don't, you are probably choosing bondage. If you don't make a choice, you're probably defaulting to whatever's left over. Become conscious of your choice. See simple personal examples in your life where you have had success and recreate those. We are not prisoners. Although we may feel bound by situations in our lives, we can always rethink them. And if we don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know. But follow with, I know the infinite knows, because there is a knower that knows all things. You must introduce that to your consciousness for the solution to be at hand. If you believe that there is no way, and the infinite always says yes to your request, it will show you the appearance of no way. This is how the law works. This is why when I say, I want money, or fill in the blank, I want blank in my life, the infinite will show you the want of that by sending you more bills or pulling more love away so that you have more want of it. This is why the mental equivalent needs to be in what you choose to be, do, and have as already flowing. can you see it? Or are you the type that needs to see it first and then you'll believe it? I'll see it when I believe it. Or I'll believe it when I see it. Show me the money. Discord is for you, never against you. Welcome it as an opportunity for healing and transformation. Welcome challenge. That's not easy to do. But if you know that your challenges are going to be handled in a way by the infinite and show you another plane of existence to express in, it's a whole new consciousness level to play in. We are all practitioners. What wants to be united in your life? What needs to be re-pictured, re-animated? Embrace and make peace with the knots in your life. They can grow you. And imagining them as unraveling. Although you don't see the shoelace unraveling, imagine it unraveling itself and looking straight as an arrow. Imagining unraveling a knot in a necklace. Have you ever done that? Had a knot in a little necklace? And it was almost, you thought it was impossible. You thought you were going to have to take it to the jeweler. But as you slowly work it and loosen that and spend some time gently pulling and pushing pieces through, taking your time and feeling the satisfaction of doing it and wearing it again with joy, it will be unraveled. Instead of having it lie in a drawer all knotted up, imagine wearing it again. Freedom from discord for your contribution to the global freedom for everyone. As within, so without. Literally see your powerful inner work, your spiritual practice. Do you have a spiritual practice? Maybe your spiritual practice is developing a spiritual practice. But you must start somewhere. Coming here on Sunday is the beginning of a spiritual practice. Every day, every morning, every evening, every moment is an opportunity. Every time you order food and it's laid before you, just say, "Thank you, infinite provider." It's as simple as a moment acknowledgement that can change worlds when we focus from whatever is happening to the infinite is where the change comes. So as within, so without, literally see your power and your inner work happening. Your spiritual practices, taking classes, workshops, spiritual counseling, as clear water pouring into a muddy glass. Every drop of fresh water that is poured into a glass of muddy water dissipates it. Slowly, that little bit of mud in the bottom is diluted and replaced with fresh water. But we must pour something in. If we keep looking at the water and jiggling it around, it will still settle at the bottom. This is the last quote from the Science of Mind textbook today, and it says on page 204.5, right through, constantly poured into consciousness, right thought, constantly poured into consciousness will eventually purify it. It's the same way with that cup of mucky water. Discord might be likened to a bottle of impure water. Healing might be likened to the process of dropping pure water into the bottle a drop at a time until the whole is clean and pure. Someone might ask why the bottle could not be turned upside down and all at once drained out of all of its impurities. And sometimes this happens, but not often. Meanwhile, a drop at a time will finally eliminate the impurities and produce a healing. But we must be vigilant. Every day, do something for a spiritual practice. Remind yourself in some way that there is spiritual energy happening. And that's the first thing we did this morning, was pray about that situation that can be challenging to look at. And there's almost no understanding of it. But ours is to see it as a prayer request and to go directly into what our belief is about the positiveness, the purity of the infinite in every situation. That is where our work lies. That is our adding a drop of clear water into that murky situation. And every time we think a positive thought into that situation, clarity is brought there. It's not a lot, but it's what we can do. And it will change the polarity of this thing we know called life. In conclusion, the creative mind and our freedom is our gift, is our blessed gift that we are given. Use it. Be patient, learning to use it more elegantly and gracefully. It is a unique gift to us human beings living in the world of duality, which means we have the freedom and the ability to make choice. So use the KISS system. Keep it simple, sweetie. Clean that right up, huh? But keep it simple. Don't confuse me with the facts. Because the facts are not the truth of the matter. The truth is that there is only God here. If you follow every challenging situation and look deep enough, there is infinite wisdom behind every situation. And that is what we must call forward. Practice our wonderful principle until you demonstrate your best life. Keep letting go of what appears to be in the way, drop by drop, and never stop. You don't know what blessing is right around the corner that may only take one more drop. You are only one prayer away from a demonstration. One prayer. Just like on your computer, you're only one click away from resolving a challenge. But we must take that click. We must do the prayer work. For it is up to each one of us to stand in the doorway of our consciousness and allow the peace and love in and deny the challenge. Not to act as if it's not happening, but not to allow our attention to be focused on the negative. It may be there, but turn into what you believe the infinite is for you. Turn into God. Turn into source energy, because it is truly what each one of us has always been and always will be. And so it is.